Hi there, you're watching Market Cafe on ET Now with me, Shreyansi Singh, and with me as always is Snehi Shah. And over the next 1 hour, we'll take you through news and updates from within the country as well as across the globe, tell you which stocks you should keep an eye on and tell you what the brokerages are saying as well. But first up, let's get started with some important cues coming in, right? It's the third day.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, and it's the third battle in the Mahabharat for today. And for India, today, 93 constituencies across 12 states are casting their mandate. This is one of the most crucial phases since most of these seats are BJP's fortresses and an uphill task for the united opposition. PM Modi's own home state, Gujarat, is casting its vote today along with BJP's bastions like Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. Significant contests will also be witnessed in Congress-ruled Karnataka, Bihar and Goa. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also be casting his vote at Nishan Higher Secondary School, a polling booth in Ahmedabad today.
Well, alright, let's keep it going with the elections, and it does not get bigger than this. As the phase 3 of polls kick off today, Times Network is back, the only interview that matters this election season. It's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's agenda-setting interview with Group Editor-in-Chief Navika Kumar and Times Now's Navbharat Consulting Editor Sushant Sinha. In a detailed interview on a wide range of topics, PM Modi displayed confidence about the party winning more than 400 seats, slammed the inheritance tax and talked about how the government is aiming towards a saturation of schemes in the country. Listen.
अब जैसे ये इनहेरिटेंस टैक्स की बात लेकर आए हैं, कोई मुझे बनाइए दुनिया के किसी भी डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज में इस प्रकार का प्रयोग हुआ है क्या? आप साम्यवादी विचारधारा की बात छोड़ दीजिए, इनके घोषणा पत्र में और उनकी स्पीचेज में जो बातें हैं आपको एक साथ मिलाकर के एक कैनवास पर रखनी पड़ेगी। ये लगातार बोल रहे हैं और सब बोल रहे हैं, ऐसा नहीं कोई बाई द वे बोल रहा है, हर कोई बोल रहे हैं। और फिर उनके घोषणा पत्र में जो लिखा है और पहले जो डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी ने बोला है, मनमोहन सिंह जी ने 2 बार पब्लिकली कहा है कि इस पर पहला हक मुसलमानों का है। और जब फिर आप सर्वे करने की बात करते हैं, फिर कहते हैं कि हम सब ले लेंगे और बांट देंगे। जब आप ले लेंगे और बांट देंगे की बात करेंगे तो फिर वो किसको देंगे? तो जो मनमोहन सिंह जी ने कहा था उनको देंगे। तो साफ साफ जो बातें होती हैं कि ये अलग अलग डॉट्स को जब बिठाते हैं तो रत्ती भर भी मेरी बात में क्वेश्चन करने जैसा है ही नहीं। हमने चुनौतियों को चुनौती दे करके अवसर में परिवर्तित किया है, लेकिन आवश्यकता ये है कि चीजों को हकीकतों के आधार पर देखा जाना चाहिए। एक्यूरेट सोर्स से जो डेटा मिलता है, पीएलएफएस का डेटा, उससे तो विश्वसनीय मानोगे आप, पीएलएफएस के डेटा को तो विश्वसनीय मानोगे। बेरोजगारी दर पिछले 6 साल में सबसे निचले स्तर पर है। उसी प्रकार से ग्रामीण बेरोजगारी, यानी हर जगह पे आया कि ग्रामीण इकोनॉमी बढ़ी है, ग्रामीण क्षेत्र में बेरोजगारी घटी है, ग्रामीण क्षेत्र में एक्टिविटी बढ़ी है, इकोनॉमी का सेंटर बनते जा रहे ग्रामीण। स्टार्टअप देखिए, पहले के जमाने में 200-300 स्टार्टअप थे, आज करीब 1.25 लाख स्टार्टअप्स हैं और टीयर 2 टीयर 3 सिटी के अंदर वो नेतृत्व कर रहे हैं। ड्रोन्स का क्षेत्र इतना बड़ा है जी, आज ड्रोन जीवन में इतना उपयोगी हो रहा है, इतना बड़ा, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग से लेकर के सर्विस सेक्टर तक। आज कोई भी टीवी कैमरा वाला, शादी वाला कैमरा वाला भी ड्रोन वाले अलग ऑपरेटर रखता है। ड्रोन दीदी का मेरा कार्यक्रम पूरे देश में बहुत बड़ा कमाल कर रहा है जी। मैपिंग की बात हो, कृषि की बात हो, रक्षा क्षेत्र हो, इवन ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का क्षेत्र हो, मेडिसिन में कितना बड़ा कमाल हुआ है। 5G का विस्तार, ये टावर वावर तो लगे होंगे तो रोजगार को ये मिला हुआ। AI, इंटरनेट ऑफ थिंग्स, कितना बड़ा अवसर मिल रहा है। यानी एक क्षेत्र को हम आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं और इसलिए मैं मानता हूं कि अब हम 6G पे काम कर रहे हैं।
Right, well, there you have it. That's the word coming in from the Prime Minister, and hard as it is to look away from it, let's take a look at the international cues that we're getting this morning. Now, US stock futures flickered near the flat line Monday evening after the Dow Jones Industrial Average wrapped its fourth positive day in a row. So when you look at the regular day trading session during Monday's main trading session, the Dow rose nearly 0.5%, S&P 500 gained 1%, and nasdaq as well advanced roughly 1.2%. Both indexes, in fact, closed higher for a third consecutive session. Now, investors carried over their bullish sentiment from Friday when the latest non-farm payrolls data showed that job growth came in below expectations in April and unemployment also ticked higher. Now, the results alleviated concerns that the economy was too hot and raised optimism around rate cuts as well from the Federal Reserve. Now, Tuesday, of course, will be relatively quiet on the economic front with just consumer credit data from March scheduled for release in the afternoon. When you look at Europe, then European markets closed higher as traders continued to assess the possibility of rate cuts after softer than expected US jobs data. So at market close, the French CAC 40 was up about 0.5%. German DAX as well was also higher by almost 1%, and UK's FTSE was closed for a public holiday. But largely a strong handover coming in from Europe as well, and that largely is the handover that we're looking at.
Absolutely, and crude prices are also holding firm on Monday as traders try to decipher confusion over whether a Gaza ceasefire has been accepted or not. Now, Ismail Haniyeh, the head of Hamas's political bureau, said in a statement that the militant group informed Egypt and Qatar of its approval of their proposal regarding a ceasefire agreement. Israel, however, has not yet released an official statement on the matter, but an Israeli official told Reuters that Hamas had approved a softened Egyptian proposal that is not acceptable to Israel. On the back of this, the WTI June contract is at $78.48 a barrel, up 37 cents or almost 0.5%. Year to date, US crude oil has gained 9.5%, and also on the flip side, Brent July contract is at $83.3 a barrel, up 37 cents or 0.5% uptick coming over there as well. And year to date, this global benchmark has also risen about 8%. Remember, oil dropped more than 6% last week as traders rolled back geopolitical risk premium on fears of war between Iran and Israel, and as crude inventories in the US surged on weaker demand. On the flip side, let's also take a look at what gold is up to, and gold prices have climbed more than 1% yesterday as the US dollar weakened after softer than expected US jobs data fueled expectations of potential interest rate cuts by the Fed Reserve later this year. Spot gold has risen almost 1% to $2,325.4 per ounce, and gold has also found support from the ongoing tensions in the Middle East, with Israel's military operation in Rafah adding a layer of uncertainty to the markets as well.
Absolutely. So let's see how it pans out for gold as well as oil. But let's also take a look at some other global cues that we're getting that we should keep an eye on. Now, when you look at Eurozone, then you do have the retail sales data, and in China, you do have Forex reserves data sets coming in. So those will remain in focus. And in terms of earnings, of course, you have Dr. Reddy's Laboratories reporting their numbers today. That will remain in the spotlight. And in terms of primary market action, for Indegene, it's the day 2 for subscription. And the lock-in period also ends for Cello World. That is also going to be something that will remain in the spotlight. As we told you before also, phase 3 of Lok Sabha elections in India will remain in the spotlight, absolutely. And you do also have earnings from UBS, Walt Disney, as well as oil major BP. And those numbers will remain in the spotlight, and so will Russian President beginning the 5th term, as well as FOMC member Neil Kashkari's speech as well. So keep an eye on all of those as well.
Alright, let's also take a look at some important global stories that we've been seeing this morning. And with expectations of a rate cut rising, Fed officials are chipping in with opinions of their own. Richmond Fed President Barkin stated that monetary policy remains restrictive with uncertainty about its sufficiency. He noted that the labor market is normalizing but still has room for catch-up hiring. Meanwhile, New York Fed President Williams emphasized that rates decisions will depend on data trends, foreseeing eventual rate cuts. Williams expects moderate GDP growth in 2024 and observes households becoming more cautious with spending due to higher government debt.
Moving on then, Chinese President Xi Jinping has urged France to help prevent a new Cold War amid growing alignment between the European Union and the US on security and trade. His visit to France precedes trips to Serbia and Hungary, seeking to bolster economic ties despite US warnings. French President Emmanuel Macron also echoed concerns about global fragmentation, emphasizing the need for mutual benefits and opposing supply chain disruptions during talks with Xi in Paris.
Well, let's talk about the latest geopolitical development that we've been seeing. In Israel launched strikes on the city of Rafah in Gaza, where many civilians have sought refuge despite Hamas announcing approval of a ceasefire proposal brokered by Egypt and Qatar. The Israeli Defense Forces stated that the strikes aim to pressure Hamas for the release of hostages and other war objectives. Israel plans to send mediators to continue talks but continues military operations in Rafah, contrary to US warnings about risk to civilians. Earlier, we spoke to Ashok Sajjanhar, the former ambassador, on the same. Listen into what he had to say.
The fighting doesn't show any signs of abating or coming down in intensity. We have seen that as far as Israel is concerned, there has been very sustained pressure from the United States, from Europe, from, in fact, across the world that Israel should stop its attacks on Gaza. As far as, that there should be a ceasefire, even as far as the UN Security Council is concerned, they have taken a resolution, they have adopted a resolution that there should be ceasefire. There have been talks that have been going on. The United States, Qatar, Egypt, they have been in involved in this negotiation, but still nothing seems to have worked out. And Israel has made it very clear to the United States, to the United Nations, and to the world community in general, that till they are able to decimate, completely annihilate the Hamas leadership, that they are not going to stop, because stopping midway would not really achieve the objectives for which they had started. So definitely, as far as politically and militarily, it appears that this is going to continue.
All right, then let's get a move on then. And Apple is doubling down on its AI game with its own chips for data centers, known internally as Project Apple Chips in Data Center. Leveraging its expertise in chip development for iPhones, iPads, and Macs, Apple aims to power artificial intelligence software directly on server hardware, according to reports. And this move could give Apple an edge in the AI arms race as well.
Alright, let's move on and talk about Boeing, because Boeing Starliner is all set for its inaugural astronaut mission today, carrying NASA astronaut Sunita Williams, who is of Indian origin, and Butch Wilmore to the International Space Station. The mission, which kicks off in a few minutes, aims to certify Starliner's capabilities during a 10-day journey to the space station. Remember, Starliner is competing with SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule, which has been NASA's only vehicle for sending ISS crew to orbit from US soil.
And this, even as the Federal Aviation Administration launches a new investigation into Boeing after the company disclosed that employees may have skipped inspections on 787 Dreamliners and falsified records. Now, Boeing notified the FAA in April about potential lapses in required inspections as well.
Well, and the Met Gala 2024 is here, where stars like Zendaya, Jennifer Lopez, Bad Bunny, and Chris Hemsworth set the fashion tone for the evening with the theme The Garden of Time. Kim Kardashian surprised everyone with a Meso Margiela couture gown, paired with a tiny cardigan, while Cardi B kept her look under wraps, arriving hidden under umbrellas. Meanwhile, Kendall Jenner made history by wearing a vintage Givenchy dress from 1999, and Alia Bhatt made a powerful statement in a stunning Sabyasachi sari, embracing her Indian heritage on the red carpet.
Alright, then let's take a look at what the Asian markets are doing. And Asia Pacific markets were set to extend gains from the previous session as Wall Street rose overnight on expectations that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates. Now, in Asia, of course, investors will be awaiting the Reserve Bank of Australia decision on rates as the bank concludes its two-day policy meeting as well. And the expectations are largely that the RBA will be holding its benchmark lending rate at 4.35% for its fourth meeting in a row. On your screens, you do have the ASX 200 that is up about 0.4% thereabout ahead of this decision. When you look at KOSPI, then what you're seeing is good gains coming in for KOSPI. On your screens, up 1.8%. When you look at Nikkei as well, that also resumed the trading after a holiday to rise about over 1%. At this point, when you look at Hang Seng and Shanghai as well, what you're looking at for Hang Seng is just a little bit of a gain coming in, 0.2% uptick coming in for Hang Seng. When you look at Shanghai as well, not a lot of strength coming in there because Shanghai is just up about 0.1% thereabout. So those are the kind of moves that you're seeing coming in. Kospi is holding its own, and largely all major indices, in fact all major indices in the green. Now back home, of course, we closed around the 22,442 levels. What Nifty implied is indicating is that we'll open around the 22,585 levels. Solid uptick being penciled in on a spot basis based on the Nifty implied, and on a futures basis a decent uptick is also being penciled in at this point.
Alright, well, we can hope for a good trading day given that GIFT Nifty is up more than 150 points from where we closed on the Nifty spot yesterday. But viewers, with that, we'll slip into a very short break on this edition of Market Cafe. We'll be right back. You stay tuned. Hi there, welcome back. Thanks so much for staying tuned to Market Cafe. You're still watching ET Now. Now, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das at the BIS Summit spoke about the transformative potential of CBDCs. He adds how the central bank has increased the interoperability of UPI and the central bank digital currency for better user experience. Here's what he said. Listen in.
The digital rupee CBDC currently has fixed denominations similar to physical currency. This makes it easier for users to relate to CBDC as a digital form of cash. We are, of course, open to other design choices and will try them out in our future pilots. We are working on making the CBDC transferable in the offline mode also. We are also introducing programmability features to promote financial inclusion and provide other value-added services under CBDC. We have also recently announced the participation of non-banks in the pilot, with the expectation that their reach can be leveraged for distribution of CBDCs and for providing value-added services. Under the retail CBDC pilot in India, the feedback from the users reaffirmed the need for a connect between fast payment systems, that is UPI in our case, and the CBDC. We have combined the CBDC QR code with the UPI QR code and made it a single point of acceptance. We have also introduced interoperability between UPI and CBDC.
Alright, there you have it. That's the word coming in from RBI Governor Das. But let's get a move on then and take a look at some earnings. Then Gujarat Gas reported a strong set of numbers. For the March quarter, profit jumped 86% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. And the company also saw highest ever CNG volumes as well. Somit is standing by with the earnings fine print. Somit?
Well, if you see in the fourth quarter, Gujarat Gas has reported a strong set of numbers. If you see on a sequential basis, the company's revenue were high by around 5%. EBITDA increased by nearly 48%. A net profit was 86% higher on a sequential basis, but this was also aided by some exceptional gains of close to 56 odd crore rupees, which was on the back of some write-backs of earlier year provisions made by the company. Even if you remove this exceptional gain of 56 crore rupees, then also if you see the net profit, that jumped nearly 67% on a sequential basis. Now, what were the two factors that aided the company's fourth quarter numbers? Firstly, it was the lower gas cost, and secondly, it was higher volumes. Now, volumes, if you see on a daily basis, increased by nearly 6% sequentially to 9.7 MMSCMD, while if you see gas cost, now that was lower by around 6 odd percent on a sequential basis. Now, the unit EBITDA, if you see, that also jumped nearly 41% on a sequential basis to around 6.7 rupees per SCM as compared to 4.8 what the company earned in the previous quarter. Apart from that, the company also announced that they have already signed term sheets for additional volumes of close to 0.8 MMSCMD, and this will be commissioned soon, which means that these volumes is expected to come in the first quarter of FY25 and could further boost their volumes going forward. So that is another positive announcement coming. The company also announced a dividend of close to 5.7 rupees per share. And what do these results now indicate? Now, these results also indicate that the company has more headroom to keep gas prices more competitive enough in the Morbi region in order to gain more volumes. Now, currently, if you see in the Morbi region, gas prices are cheaper when compared to propane, which is the competing fuel. But in the month of June, propane prices are expected to fall. So, given the fact that the company is earning a margin of around 6.7 rupees per SCM, this shows that they have headroom to lower their margins in order to gain volume. So, all in all, a positive set of numbers coming in from Gujarat Gas on the back of higher gas volumes and a lower gas cost.
All right. Swami, thanks for taking us through that. So Gujarat Gas will be in focus on the back of that news flow. But Swami, while you're with us, talk to us about chemical conglomerate SRF as well, right? Because that will also be in focus today on the back of some pricing action seen in the refrigerant gases category. Now, the US has gone ahead and proposed a cut on the anti-dumping duty for two types of gases. Swami, help us understand what this means for the company and also what we can expect from the company's price today.
Well, yes, SRF will remain in focus because Gujarat Fluorochemical in its conference call yesterday, by the way, the company reported a strong set of numbers, but in its conference call, it did say that US had is proposing a cut in their additional dumping duty on two types of refrigerant gas. Now, the preliminary review of the anti-dumping duty on R125 and R410A types of gas in the US has been in favor of a Chinese producer, which is the third largest manufacturer of refrigerant gas in China. Now, US has proposed to cut the anti-dumping duty on R125 from 280% to 24%, and on R410A the earlier rate was around 220%, but these rates have been proposed to cut to around 101%. Now, this proposed cut in the prices of these two gases has led to a crash in the prices of both these products. Now, for R125, you see the prices have come down from around $12 per kg to around $6.6 per kg, and for R410A the prices have come down from around $9 to $10 per kg to around $7.8 per kg. So that's a significant price reduction that we are seeing in both these products. Now, analysts believe that if the cut goes through, then Chinese companies have enough capacities to take over the US market. And Gujarat Fluoro also said in its conference call that they're expecting FY25 to be a flattish year for fluorochemicals, given the fact that FY24 was already a weak quarter. So they're also not expecting much of a growth because of this drop in prices that we have seen. Now, analysts believe that for Gujarat Fluorochemical, the reduction in prices will have a minimal impact on that profits, given that these products don't contribute much to that top line. But for SRF, analysts believe that 50% reduction in the prices in one of the chemicals could impact their EBIT by around 5%. So keep an eye out for SRF in trade.
Well, absolutely. We'll keep an eye out for SRF in trade today. Important commentary coming in from the management. But let's move on then and look at India's sugar production. And that has come in higher than expectations. According to ISMA data, India's sugar production has reached around 314 lakh tons as of April 2024 and is expected to cross 320 lakh tons with additional output from Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. On the back of higher sugar output, ISMA has also urged the government to allow export of up to 20 lakh ton sugar this season. Earlier, we also caught up with M. Manikam, who's the CMD at Sakti Sugar, on the same. Listen in to what he had to say as well.
Basically, it's the weather, ma'am. I mean, if you literally look at it, people were looking at the weather being very harsh, so there may be loss of production. But apparently, there's been a good yield of cane all around. So that's been one of the major increases where we have got. So going forward again, I mean, this whole industry is very weather dependent. We'll have to wait and see how each year comes, depending on the year's monsoon. Our sugar cycle is about 3 to 4 years, but right now, with the government's program of ethanol and some exports and all that, they've been maintaining the sugar prices at reasonable levels. So we've been maintaining higher production than normal. So that has been good. And if this policy continues, even on ethanol, they would take a couple of steps back. If they go ahead and take those steps back, reverse those steps, I think we will maintain the production as such.
Alright, well, let's move on then. An e-commerce firm, First Christ parent company Brainbees Solution Limited, has refiled its draft red herring prospectus or the DRHP with SEBI, where the IPO size has remained the same. The decision to refile the IPO documents followed a directive from SEBI to address insufficient disclosure of key performance indicators. But what else do we know about this DRHP? Which investors are offloading their stake? My colleague Aishwarya Patil is here with that report. Aishwarya.
Well, First Cry is all set to make its Dalal Street debut as its parent company, Brainbees Solutions, has refiled its DRHP with the Securities and Exchange Board of India. Earlier on, SEBI had said that the company had disclosed insufficient information in terms of its KPIs, key performance index, such as the number of orders, average order value, as well as annual transacting customers, so on and so forth. Now, the Pune-based company says that the total IPO or the total issue size remains unchanged, although the correct or the total figure has still not been declared by the company. What we know so far is that the fresh issue of equity shares of about 1800 crore and an OFS of 5.44 crore equity shares has been earmarked. As far as the corporates or the big names that will be offloading through the OFS includes SoftBank-backed SVF Frog, which is a Cayman Island registered company. That company will be selling about over 2 crore equity shares, which currently owns about 25% in the company. Mahindra & Mahindra is the other player, which has which will be offloading about 28 lakh shares of the company and has over 10% stake in FirstCry as well. The other names that will be offloading includes PI Opportunities Fund, TPG, Newquest Asia Investments, Apricot Investments, Mauritius, Valiant Mauritius, as well as TIMF Holdings, so on and so forth. As far as the performance of the company is concerned, 9 months as of December 2023, they've clocked in a net loss of 278 crore rupees as well as an operating revenue of over 4,800 crore rupees going forward. So let's see how the street reacts to this particular IPO that is coming through in the next couple of months.
Well, absolutely, Aishwarya, that will remain in the spotlight. But moving on then, lower tax burden and yet same amount of revenue. FM Sitaraman says that centre and states are now collecting same revenue as the pre-GST era, and that too with lower burden on taxpayers. Let's take a look at what else she had to say in this report that Prakash filed earlier.
The first president of GST Appellate Tribunal has been appointed, and the finance minister has termed it a significant milestone, including the highest ever GST collection of rupees more than 2 lakh crore in the month of April. The finance minister, through her social media account, has mentioned about significant growth made under GST since its inception. The FM has said the number of registered taxpayers under GST has crossed 1.4 crores from 65 lakhs in the year 2017. Along with that, when it comes to interstate trades of domestic goods, which has increased to 35% of GDP in the financial year 2022, up from 23.5% in the financial year 2018. While talking about constant fall in GST rates in order to provide taxpayers and the consumer, the finance minister has pointed out that in last 52 meetings of the GST Council, almost all the decisions have been taken through full consensus. Moving ahead, while making comparative analysis of tax buoyancy pre-GST and post-GST period, the finance minister has said that the GST has improved tax buoyancy from 0.72 which was during pre-GST period to 1.22 during financial year 2018 to 23. And the interesting fact is that despite end of compensation period, the state revenues remain buoyant at 1.15. In addition to that, the finance minister has also made a significant analysis when it comes to overall revenue collection pre-GST and post-GST period. The FM has said without GST, states revenues from subsumed taxes from financial year 2018-19 to the financial year 2023-24 would have been rupees 37.5 lakh crore. With GST, state revenues amounted to rupees 46.56 lakh crore. That means there is significant growth of tax collection post GST period. Moving ahead, when it comes to overall GST collection as compared to percentage terms of GDP, GST collection as a percentage of GDP have now reached the levels they were before GST period. And that clearly reflects that the center and the state governments are able to collect same revenue with the lower burden on consumer.
All right, thanks for that, Prakash. But let's slip into a very short break on this edition of Market Cafe. We'll be right back with more stock-specific news and updates, so you stay tuned. Welcome back. We're seeing live visuals coming in of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chief Union Home Minister Amit Shah. They're on their way to go and cast their vote this morning. Remember, the phase 3 of elections have begun today, and the visuals that we are seeing are from Gandhinagar in Gujarat, which is the home constituency of both of these people, PM Modi as well as Amit Shah, on their way to cast their vote in the third phase of this election season. Alright, these are the visuals coming in. Both of them are on their way to cast their vote. PM Modi was expected to be right on time at 7:30 a.m. although Amit Shah was expected to follow him a little bit later. But both of these leaders are on their way to go and cast their vote, and it is the third phase of elections coming in. 25 seats in Gujarat are up for battle today, and Amit Shah and PM Modi, as you can see, are right outside the polling center and will be going in and casting their vote in a short while from now.
Well, absolutely, and a host of constituencies that will be voting today, like Kutch, Patan Mahesana, Sabarkantha, as well as Gandhinagar, and Ahmedabad East, Ahmedabad West. You also have Surendranagar, Rajkot, Porbandar, and Jamnagar as well. Now, among 26 seats in Gujarat, Surat seat witnessed the unopposed win of BJP candidate Mukesh Dalal after the nomination paper of Congress pick was rejected and other candidates also withdrew from the race. So on your screens, you do have the latest development that is playing out for phase 3. That is the voting currently, and of course that is something that we'll be keeping an eye on, and polling across the 25 constituencies in Gujarat will also remain in focus. But let's also get a move on then, and let's also take a look at some results reactions then, or results reactions we'll be seeing today, but then let's also take a look at what the management of Marico had to say post their Q4 numbers, and GCPL as well, that came out with an inline set of Q4 earnings. Sharad is standing by with more details on this. Sharad?
Well, it's important development coming in for Marico's con call, and the commentaries coming is that the urban growth has moderated in the fourth quarter, while the rural growth saw a good uptick coming in the ensuing quarter. Also from Q1 FY25, it's expected that the domestic volume growth is expected to pick up, and as per the con call, the company has stated that they have taken a price hike in April and they could take more hikes in the parachute segment. Also, the revenue growth is expected to be positive in FY25, and the mid and premium segment also saw an overall good segment in the fourth quarter. Now, the company is aiming for a double-digit EBITDA margin growth for Beardo in FY25, and the domestic revenue growth is expected to outpace the volume growth in FY25 as well. Now, the rural demand will show significant improvement in the second half of FY25. A very strong commentary coming in, especially on the rural growth front when it comes to Marico's con call. Also, the second company in focus would be Godrej Consumer Products, largely inline set of numbers coming in from the company, but there is an important loss amount which is there. This is because of the loss coming in for the restructuring of their East Africa business, and now the company has stated that the restructuring impact has been already completed. Overall, the business volume growth, if you look at it, is up 12%, and India business volume, that's up 15%, and that is what the street has been bullish on, and a very strong performance in the volume growth front. Apart from this, if you look at the segment-wise performance, home care segment has grown 6%, while personal care has grown by 4%, and Indonesia market has grown by almost 12%. Household insecticide, the company has stated there has been a double-digit growth. And lastly, for the international markets such as Africa, Middle East, USA, in terms of constant currency growth on a year-on-year basis, there has been a 16% growth.
All right, thanks Sharad for taking us through that. Let's move on then. And we have Gaurav standing by with us to take us through what the brokerages are flagging off this while. But before we go to that, we're bringing you some more visuals coming in from Gujarat as well, where PM Modi is just on his way to cast his vote, and he has already casted his vote, and now he's seen to be leaving the center coming in from Gujarat. He has casted his vote in the booth at Nishan Public School. So, well, that's the latest update that we're bringing you. Live visuals coming in on ground from Gujarat, where PM Modi has just casted his vote, and he is leaving the voting location as well. But moving on then, let's go back to Gaurav, who's standing by with a list of what the brokerages are flagging off for us this morning and the stocks that are on their radar. Good morning, Gaurav. Take it away.
Well, good morning. Let's begin with Titagar Rail today, because now Morgan Stanley has initiated with overweight trading and a target price of 1285 rupees per share. What they believe is that we may see strong evidence of revival in India's railway system, and in this Titagar could be one of the large beneficiaries. Apart from that, when we talk about the business model, they view Titagar's freight system as a cash cow for Titagar, and at the same time passenger business could be a next leg of growth for the company. And on the back of this, now they are expecting earnings CAGR to remain at around 28% over the next 3 years to come up to a target price of 1285 rupees per share. Next, let's talk about Indus Towers, because Macquarie has now downgraded the rating to underperform while increase the target price to 265 rupees per share. What they believe is that there is better visibility for the company, but everything is priced in at this moment. They believe that the VI's improvement, I mean the Vodafone India's improvement, is near-term visibility, and because of this, they have actually lifted this target price. But apart from that, they have actually cut down the EPS for FY25 and FY26 on the back of the lower rentals, which can actually offset the impact of high tenancies, and that is why we are seeing this increase in the target price, but they have now downgraded the rating to underperform. Next, let's talk about car trade, and this is on the back of the numbers that we saw yesterday, and now Nomura is being a little bullish on this company. They have maintained buy rating with and increased the target price to 982 rupees per share versus what it was at 887 rupees. What they believe is that Q4 was actually a beat in EBITDA, and apart from that, companies focusing on capitalizing on strong potential that they have in OLX, and apart from that, they also believe that marginal improvement is also on track. So on back of this, they have actually increased the target price to car trade also to 982 rupees, and on back of these brokerage notes, we will definitely watch out for these companies, because a strong word is coming up from brokerages on these companies.
We'll keep an eye on all of those counters in trade today, Gaurav, but let's also get a move on then and take a look at the futures and options roundup. Ansh is standing by with that snapshot. Ansh?
Right, let's start with India VIX first, because that has touched one-year high in the previous session. The index has been advancing for 8 consecutive sessions, and it has gained over 60% in this 8 sessions. Well, this indicates that investors anticipate increased price volatility for next 30 days. Let's get back to Nifty first now. So if you can see in the chart, the index has been declining for last 2 sessions, but it is taking good support at around 20 DMA, which is a positive sign. Whereas if we talk about options, then we are seeing call writing happening at 22,600 strike, indicating very strong resistance around this level. Whereas on downside, we are seeing some mild put writing happening at 22,400, indicating traders expect some support base around this level. Moving on to Nifty Bank, if you can see in the chart as well, the index has been moving in a short-term downward sloping channel actually, which is a bit of a bearish sign. On option front, we are seeing mild call writing happening at the psychological level of 49,000, indicating option traders not expecting index to go above this level. Whereas on downside, we are seeing some put writing happening at 48,500, indicating good support around this strike price. Let's also see what FIs did in previous session. In index future, they added around 14,000 long contract, but they also added around 2,500 short contract. But net to net, we are still positive. We added around 11,600 contract, due to which the total long position has inched higher from 43.7% to 45.5%. Lastly, let's have a quick view on a few F&O stocks as well that will be in focus. And we are seeing long build-up happening in Britannia and Elcom Laboratory, where short build-up for Punjab National Bank and Titan. So keep an eye on the stocks.
And thanks so much for taking us through that. We'll be keeping a close eye on all the levels and the stocks that you've mentioned. But let's move on then, and Hindalco will be the stock to watch out for today, because Novelis, which is the company's wholly owned subsidiary, has reported a largely inline set of numbers for the quarter gone by. The company has also shared their guidance for EBITDA per ton and volume growth. Listen in to what the CEO and CFO had to say on their results. Listen in.
We do think there's margin expansion. We've given, that we think that we believe that 600 per ton is very reasonable over time.
Are pretty confident that volume recovery will continue to happen. Our end markets are doing very well, subject to specialties and building and construction and the likes of that coming back once the economy normalizes. Outside of that, our end markets are doing pretty well, so we feel good about continuing to progress on volume growth.
All right, then let's move on then and take a look at Dr. Reddy's. Now that is all set to release its Q4 earnings as well. What is the street penciling in for this one? Srishti is standing by with all these expectations. Srishti?
So this time from Dr. Reddy's, we are not expecting much because the company is expected to report a muted growth on a sequential basis, and the major reason could be their US sales, which is expected to be flattish this time around, though on a YOY basis there could be a 32% jump when it comes to their US sales. When we talk about the overall numbers then definitely you will see a good growth on a YOY basis, but sequentially, like I highlighted, we are expecting a muted set. From revenue, the expectation is of 7,237 crores. EBITDA is expected at 2,016 crores, and the margins are also expected to be flattish at 27.9%. While on the profit, we are expecting a sequential decline of 7%, and the number is expected at 1,290 crores from Dr. Reddy's. And let's talk about the factors that will be at play. So the US business could show a double-digit growth. $412 million is the expectation over there, and the push could be from the benefit from the stable price erosions, as well as when we talk about the prospects of the business, then on their base business, the incremental competition is expected to impact them a little bit. When it comes to their domestic growth, that's expected to be up by 10% on a YY basis, while in the diabetes, that's expected to be offset. There was a good growth in this particular segment, but there was a double-digit decline in the cardiac therapy. So these were the factors at play when it comes to their domestic business. When it comes to their other geographies like Russia and other CIS countries, that's expected to show a rise of 11% on a YY basis. So that was on the numbers and the commentary as well. But going forward, we will be watching keenly on the management comments on the key approval and the launches plan in the next 12 to 15 months in North America, the GLP-1 opportunity that they are looking forward to, and the updates on the filing, approval and launches in China market specifically. Those will be the key monitorables. Back to you.
All right, Shrishti, thanks so much for that. We'll be watching out for Dr. Reddy's and their numbers today. But viewers, with that, I'm afraid we're completely timed out on this edition of Market Cafe. Thanks so much for watching, but you stay tuned because the market takes all the action ahead.
We cannot take democracy for granted.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.